can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend in some hockey town. With a pucked up parents, frozen toes, big hearts, bad luck. With a pucked up parents, one more tourney, one more puck. We're broke, we're loud, we love this grind. Cause our kid just scored and we lost our minds.
Greetings and welcome to Puck Up Parents. We're at episode 36, a timestamp. Henry, our youngest, was born when I was 36. That makes me feel incredibly old. Angela, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to our podcast. We are the Pucked Up Parents. We've been youth hockey parents for the last 12, almost 13 years. We were completely novice first-generation hockey parents who had no idea what was going on, but we've learned a lot in the last 12 years. We're still learning, and we're here to share what we've learned and what we're still learning with you.
Laugh with us, cry with us, enjoy our banter as we explore the world of youth hockey. It's confusing, it's expensive, it's frustrating, and it's also a blast. We've had an incredible time being hockey parents, something I would never imagined in all my years of ever being. But here we are, 12, coming on 13 years later. We are hockey parents, and we're here to help you navigate the wonderful, wild world of hockey. As we do every week, it's July. We kind of examine what happened in hockey this week for us. Angela, what did we have? Let's call the elephant in the room. Angela's not in town right now. She's in Kansas, so probably not much hockey out there. Kansas, like she's Dorothy. What happened for us?
I'm not in any sort of wagon or anything, by the way. I'm actually in a hotel in a city in Kansas. But anyways, yeah, not a lot of hockey going on for me this week. But the kids are continuing with their 3v3 beer league, just general practice, some stick time this week for the boys, I think. And Henry's continuing his 10,000 puck challenge.
Henry finally stepped up last night at the 3-on-3. He was invited a couple times by the guy who runs the rink to play with the older kids to level up, and he took advantage of that last night and actually played with the older kid. It was pretty wild seeing him out there with kids way taller than him. I know our oldest son is way taller than Henry is, but he held his own, did excellent. He was a little frustrated coming out the ice. He said the kids, it's side to side ice. It's just really
Cross ice.
Yeah, cross ice. Thank you. And he was frustrated kids weren't passing. There was a lot of might looking hockey out there played by these older kids. Our oldest, of course, is playing beer league. He's playing a lot of pickup games. And I noticed my detached garage where I keep my 50-year-old Ford pickup truck is now the home of his gear. He lays it out in the floor in my garage. I walked in the other day, caught a whiff next to my truck, and it was all the wet, damp, gross hockey gear drying out, it's a steamy garage. So I turned on the dehumidifier and threw a fan on it. But yeah, it relocated. He's moving out in a couple weeks. Not a big deal. I'll allow it.
One other big hockey news this week is our oldest, his new hockey pants came in. He has a brand new pair of hockey pants that fit appropriately and are not falling apart.
Yeah, if you follow us on social media, you saw I posted that a couple weeks ago. The back of his pants looked like he put a live grenade in his back pocket and exploded out. So we finally got to buy new hockey pants. He did get the notification. University of Louisville ACH hockey practice starts in a few weeks, right after he starts college. So we'll have lots of stories then. Hockey season is on the horizon. We're coming up. Angela, we're going to go to season 2 when that happens on Pucked Up Parents. We're also going to say we're in our 13th year of being hockey parents. So
that's correct.
We'll be still be at 12U with our youngest, and we'll be at ACHA college hockey. So new stories coming out, new observations, and of course, we're going to help you through this journey. Angela, let's recap our last episode. You want to go ahead and get those words out that I really, really hate?
Yeah, these are definitely words you don't like, but we talked about hockey style, but we also use some of the hockey slang terms, I guess you could say, for hockey style. So the kids these days, I'll sound like an old person, hockey sty. You were using the word drip. I'm sure there's plenty of other words that we used in that episode, but we definitely talked about different hockey styles and what's popular for the kids these days. Yes, I sound like an old person, probably because I am.
The other word I hated was that stupid, the mask sticking out. What'd you call that?
The hang.
Hang, yeah, I took out my hang.
Yeah.
It sounds perverted more than it does cool, but I digress.
Maybe your head's just in the gutter.
My head's always in the gutter. You've been out of town for a while. Let's get into today's topic. It's the summer. and it looks like you're going to force me into class. What are we talking about today?
I am. I'm going to force you into class. We're talking about hockey math. And the first math equation that I have for our listeners is Michael said at the top of the show that we are at episode 36, and he was 36 when our 12-year-old was born. So everybody can figure out Michael's age now. So that's your first math problem of the hockey math episode.
I time traveled this year. I'm actually not that age. Yes. All right. So
So, anyways, we're going to talk about all the math that's involved with hockey. I know probably our listeners are like, "What are you talking about?" Well, I've got two different types of math we'll talk about today. The first one is in the "What the puck am I doing?" segment, and I want to talk about how math is related to hockey and how hockey is related to math.
all right. So I've got out my Scantron. I got my number two pencil sharpened. It may be
Oh,
summer, but school is in session. What the puck am I doing, Angela? My God. Our ta our tape episode was a snooze fest.
yeah, absolutely. So, lesson number one, geometry. Do you remember what geometry is all about? You
Like,
remember back to high school and what kind of math geometry involves?
it's like shapes, and you had the protractor and the compass thing that you would stab your palm with, and my teacher was boring. Yes, I remember geometry.
Okay, yeah. So shapes. Let's talk about hockey shapes. The shapes on the ice. There's face-off circles. There's rectangular squares based on all the different lines that are out on the ice. You've got half circles at the crease. The puck is a disc or a cylinder. So you've got all kinds of examples of geometry in hockey.
Well, and it's exact measurements too. I don't know if that's not technically geometry, but the rink has you have your Olympic rink, and then you have the rink that what's that company's name? 200 by 85 by something else.
I believe it's 200 by 85 or 300 by 85, which is your NHL sized rink, which we talked about in our rink episode. We also talked about in our rink episode how the corners of the rink are rounded, so it's not a perfect rectangle if we're talking geometry. I'm sure we could come up with some sort of an equation to find out the square footage of the ice with the rounded corners.
I really don't have time to do any math. That's why God invented calculators and man invented ChatGPT. Now, as far as like the circles, the sizes of them, the circles in the face off, is there any logic to the size of those things, or do you know that?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the logic is to the size of them. I'm sure there is some sort of logic, but they are a standard size. So the face-off circle is always going to be the same size on the rink. You're not going to be at one rink and the diameter of the face-off circle is 4 feet, and the next rink you go to it's going to be 8 feet. It's all standardized, but it's interesting because there are 5 face-off circles on the ice, and they're all the same size,
I'm just
and they're going to be the same size at every rink.
I'm just curious if in like olden times, as they developed the game of hockey, was it like based on the size of a pond, or the area where you drop the puck was like the size of a fishing ice fishing hole that they used in Canada somewhere. I'm just curious how
Yeah.
that evolved. I guess that's something I can look into, the history of the hockey rink designs.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting history. Maybe we'll have to do a hockey history lesson as one of our episodes. You're laughing at my hockey math, but maybe we can go into hockey history.
Hockey history would be great. I would love to do that. Talking about them skating with shoes, or actually they would put the skates on the shoes, on any type of shoes, or use sticks instead of actual sticks that fell from a tree, not a fiberglass stick that I paid $400 for.
Right. Well, maybe I'll leave that hockey history episode to you. We can do a little research, and I think that sounds like a great idea for an episode.
All right, so lesson one is geometry. Wow, I hated geometry, man, but I understand the shapes, and there are wild shapes: squares, circles, triangles, or even the plays themselves. They whip out those little boards, and it's got the design of the hockey, and they're drawing like I don't. Do they draw like football players, the X's and the squares? And
Yeah,
offense?
absolutely. Yeah, they're drawing that, and then the lanes where the players are skating, if they're gonna skate straight down the lane or if they're gonna angle. And actually, lesson two is all about angles.
Oh, wait a minute, I got one.
So, oh, okay, one more shape. Go.
The penalty box. It's a square.
It's a cube.
It's a cube, a rectangle, a square, whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
So
of course, that's dependent on the rink you go to. Our rink is not necessarily a box. It's called a penalty box, but that's a loose term. It's actually just a penalty open area that just sit on the side of the bench. So, all right, geometry, we failed that class. Give Michael an F. Angles. Angles are interesting, and this is I equate angles in hockey to a game of billiards, which the fancy people say. We call it pool. You're using the angles on the rink to your favor to pass the puck, to shoot the puck, to dangle another player. Talk about angles, Angela.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on with the banking the puck off the boards. The kids learn, the players learn if they shoot the puck at a certain angle into the boards, it's going to come off at the same angle going the other direction. That could actually be a physics lesson. I didn't include physics in this lesson, but maybe I should have.
Yeah, you should have.
Um,
There's a lot of physics in hockey when it comes to, like, the frozen ice itself,
yeah,
condition of the ice, the puck. I don't think we do this, but I think some, like, NHL games, they put the pucks in a freezer to get them cold,
right.
density of the puck, but, yes, to your point, we could have done physics on this, but I think one lesson is enough. We don't wanna lose subscribers. So
Right.
so the angles, it's very difficult to teach angles to a kid, and this is something they need to pay attention. Yes, school sucks, but if they can pay attention to angles and, this is where your protractor comes back in again, they can use that to the advantage on a rink, I think.
Right, absolutely. And they are utilizing those angles without even realizing it because they're going to realize that if they shoot the puck towards the boards at whatever angle that it's going to come off at that other angle and maybe that's the way they are getting the puck away from the defender or they're on a breakaway and they bounce the puck off the boards to go around the defender. They're utilizing those angles and not even realizing that they're doing math and physics within that process. But the other place where there's a couple other places where angles come in significantly in hockey, and the angle in which like the defender is facing the offensive player on the breakaway. You often hear the angle them out, push them out towards the boards. You hear that like when parents are cheering and or the coaches are coaching, they're talking about changing the angle or angling the player that you're defending against. That's all in an effort to get the shot, limit that shooter's ability to have a wider shot on the net.
Well,
So
and basically the defenseman, if they're in the center of the ice and, the offensive player has the puck and they're flying down the boards like they do, the thought of your player being able to get over to that wall and match their speed, it's not gonna work. Speed times, distance traveled is not gonna match up with the guy going down the side of the walls. What you can do is turn around, head back, and catch them at an angle. Angle them off. They'll say that, "Angle them off," and inevitably you'll catch them and be able to block that shot.
exactly. And that's what I was starting to get at that, but there's also another when you're pushing them out towards when you're pushing the shooter out towards the board, you are narrowing the angle of the shot on the net. So you're making that net actually smaller. If you're facing straight onto the net, you've got a wide angle, it's like hitting the broadside of a barn. You've heard that term. You grew up with a barn. So if you push them out to the side, you're making that side of the barn smaller. It's going to be harder for them to hit that net. Similarly, the goalies, in goalie speak, you hear a lot about decreasing the shooter's angle. And the way the goalie does that is that they move out away from the net, which they were cutting down on the amount of net that the shooter can see, essentially, which means that they have less of a target at the goal.
And it's safe to say, as a parent watching the game, when you see that goalie skate out like that to challenge the shooter, from our vantage point, it's scary looking because you're like, "What? There's the net. The net's now wide open. What's he doing?" But essentially, he's getting in his line of sight between the shooter and the net and making a play on that puck. So it's a visualization that we can't imagine because we are not in goal. But from the sidelines, it looks like they're basically abandoning the net to challenge the shooter.
From our bird's eye view up in the stands, it looks like the net's wide open. But from the shooter's view, the shooter now has this big goalie with all of his or her gear on, and it's going to make it harder for that shooter to shoot around the goalie to get it in the net. Whereas if that goalie were all the way back in the net between the pipes, as they say, they've got a lot more holes that the shooter can target.
And the velocity of listen, velocity. I'm sounding like a lecturer here. But the velocity of the players in the passes too, the angles come into consideration because the players are skating on the ice and visualizing where, their offensive buddy is gonna be and being able to pass it. You're not passing directly to them, you're passing where you think they're gonna be by the time that puck arrives there. Our son did it in the state finals. His buddy, Sutton was skating right next to him on a breakaway, and Sam visualized where he was gonna be, and Sam was way ahead of him, and all he had to do was barely tap the puck over, and that puck was right there. It arrived right at the perfect time, and they scored a goal.
These kids, well, you laugh that I do an episode on hockey math, but the kids are doing the math without even thinking about it. That's part of the play. They're learning how to skate. They're learning how to do these maneuvers, and they're using those shapes and those angles to be a better hockey player, to really play the game the best way that they can. And they're using math and don't even realize it.
Pucked up parent tip: if your kids are young, and of course they're in school and they're looking for projects, math word problems they have to write themselves. Our kid did this. He did a geometry paper on hockey angles, and I think he scored very well on it. He drew the rink on a piece of paper. He threw the angles out there, and it was really an excellent lesson. And it related way more to him than just some generic math lesson because he could relate to it because it was hockey.
Exactly. That was a great opportunity for our son. He really loves math, or was really good at math and still is really good at math. But if you've got a player who's like, I don't understand this math stuff, it doesn't make sense, introduce the concept of, hey, there's a lot of math in hockey. I know it sounds crazy, and we've been talking about it for what? 10, 15 minutes here, and we've discussed a number of different ways math is on the ice.
Yeah, so thanks for sticking with us for these 10 to 15 minutes.
Maybe I'm weird, but I think it's interesting.
Oh, no, it's incredibly interesting, and it's something you don't think of. I remember when Sam brought that project idea to us, I'm like, "What? Yeah, I guess that makes sense." And as somebody who I grew up shooting pool, shooting billiards. I was totally related to that because I'm like, "Yeah, that's you use that in pool. You're bouncing the ball off at an angle to try to make it in a pocket." Same thing with hockey. You're bouncing it off the wall to make a pass, to get around the defender, or to take a shot.
Exactly. So another area where math comes up in hockey is fractions, percentages, and probabilities.
I just got my full paycheck and my kid just broke his stick, so how much percentage of my paycheck is gonna go to pay for that stick?
We're going to talk about the parent word problems later. Yep. Get,
We're out.
get your number 2 out. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Hang on, let me get my TI-12 calculator.
Yeah, you go grab that. Get the graphing calculator. You might need that.
Oh, those are expensive.
But no, fractions, percentages, and probabilities. Let's think about hockey. Hockey's kind of different in that we have 3 periods. Instead of halves or quarters, like a lot of sports are played, you've got fractions. You play the first period. That's only 1/3 of the game, which the ice is also split into thirds. You've got the offensive zone, the neutral zone, and the defensive zone. So a lot of fractions going on there.
A lot of threes. 3, periods, 3 seconds of the ice, 3 scores is a hat trick. That was the biggest thing when you have people who come watch your kids' games, or actually when you learn it yourselves, is you're like, "Oh, wait, they don't play quarters? They don't play halves? They play 3 periods? Well, after the second period, they get a break." It's like,
And they call they is this halftime? Well, it's not really halftime. It's between it's the between periods. It's not halftime, but yeah, it's kind of like what halftime would be in another sport.
technically, halftime would be in the second period about the 7-minute 50 mark, 7:30 mark. Yeah, if it's a 15.
Which, there were a couple of tournaments, I think there were
Yep.
high school or 18U tournaments or particular rinks where instead of taking the break between a period, they would literally play the first period, play the first half of the second period, take the break then, clear the ice, zam the ice, and then you would play the second half of the second period, and then you'd play the third period.
So
Which was always really weird to me because you're looking at the clock and you're like, why has the clock only got 6 minutes on it? We just started this period. But they were only playing half of the second period before they took the intermission.
sit there and think about that for a second. 3 periods, and there's a halftime in 3 periods. So 1 point.
Literally half of the period.
It was ridiculous, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I wanna say it was in Miami of Oxford. I remember a tournament last season or a game up there, and I'm like, "Why is there only,
Like, what are we doing?
periods? What's going on?" And somebody like, they're taking a halftime break in the middle of the second period." I'm like, "Well, okay, super odd, but I understand it."
There's another lesson in fractions for you. So yeah, crazy stuff like that. But then we think about penalty minutes and power plays and all of those kinds of things. When you have penalty minutes and a player sitting out, so you're in a power play or penalty kill situation, it's a 5-on-4. Well, that's probability. You've got that 5-on-4, it's more probable that the team with 5 players is going to be successful than the team with fewer players.
Yeah, that's why we said in our penalty episode that when you get scored on a shorthand goal, when you're down a guy and you score, it's so much of an insult because the probability should be on the power play team to score a goal, not the ones that are down a player.
Exactly. So I think that's, if you've got a player who's starting to work with some of that probability and percentages, things along those lines in math class coming up this academic year, related to hockey. I think that's a good one. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about with the power or penalties and power plays is you've got, say you're playing a 20-minute period. That's what the professionals play. That's what some of the high school teams are playing, what some of the college teams are playing. So a 2-minute penalty in a period, that player's missing 1/10 of the period. So if you think about a player who is maybe got 2 or 3 penalties in the same period, what the percentage of the game they spent in the penalty box.
Listen here, team manager. My kid was in the box 3 times that last game. He didn't play all the games, so I'd like a refund of $20.
Yeah, I don't
The
think that's
math.
going to go over real well. But I mean, I think that's important for the kids to understand. And we talked about this in the penalty episode is that you're not helping your team if you're in the penalty box. And you can like really put some equations behind that and be like, hey, buddy, you spent
1/10.
10th or, well, I mean,
You're gonna
one
get
fifth
punched
of the period. Yeah, you're going to,
in the face if they go to another kid and say that. Technically, by math, I just math it out. You play 2/5 of the game.
no,
That's a
you spent, well, but if you've got a kid who ends up in the penalty box really often, you can talk about, hey, you spent 2/5 of the game or 3/4 of the game or whatever the percentage may be in the penalty box. That's how much time you were sitting out, not helping your team.
yeah. Just let's sum it up. Just stay out of the box. Don't
Yeah,
get.
yeah, that would be great. But we again in the penalty episode we talked about it. It happens.
Yeah.
But I think putting some of that math behind it and that equation kind of at least it solidifies it for me. But I also have a weird brain, and I'm okay with admitting that.
Wow, no, I'm married to Rain Man, ladies and gentlemen. Lesson 4. I don't really follow this. This is my hockey crap. Statistics. Angela, let's talk stats.
I just want to throw that out there as the statistics that the players start looking at, especially as they get older, when they get in that 12, 14, 16U age group, they're going to start really looking at their own statistics, whether it's theirs or the entire team statistics. But games played, goals, assists, and points. So here's your equation. Goals plus assists equals points. A lot of players want to know how many points they've scored in a game or in a season, and that's how you figure that out. You've also got the plus minus, and this one took me a minute to figure out, and I'm going to try to explain it the best I can right now. And I'm not sure if you have much knowledge on the plus minus statistic.
Yeah, so when you look at the plus minus on a battery, the plus side goes on the little nipple looking side of the battery, and the negative side is the flat one. Also, in a car, the positive is red and the negative is black. And when you jump your car because it's 10 degrees in Pittsburgh and you forgot to get a new battery while you're at home, that's how you hook up jumper cables. Is that what we're talking about?
No, no, not at all. So plus minus in hockey is players get, I guess, scored or statistics based on if they were on the ice when a certain thing happened. So if a player was on the ice when their team scored, it's a plus. They get kind of a hash mark or a plus. They get 1 plus. If they were on the ice when they got scored on, that's a minus. So a player is going to want to look at a higher plus minus score rather than a player who maybe has a negative plus minus score. Because if a player has a negative plus minus score, they are going to be one of those players who was on the ice when they got scored on a lot.
Yeah,
Versus the player that was on the ice when their team scored.
I am familiar with this. Sam was very heavily about my plus minus score. I knew when he got scored on or when his line got scored on, it was poorly reflected on his stats. Clearly, your best line out there should have the best positive number of these, not the negative numbers. Yes, yes, I am familiar with the positive negative despite my lame attempt at jokes.
Well, and not necessarily a negative plus minus. It's not always bad. I mean, it could just be that, hey, your player's on the penalty kill and something along those lines. I think it's something you have to look at holistically, but I found that as an interesting stat that I don't know that I had recognized in any other sport, but I've also not really been involved in statistics in a lot of other sports. So I don't know if that's something out there that happens in basketball or soccer or anything along those lines.
Ironically, your whole youth hockey journey starts with the plus minus, the old pregnancy test.
Jesus.
Sorry. But
I think that was 2 lines.
to your point though, the stats for all sports is really getting out of control, especially with the technology we have today. Just like baseball, it's like the velocity of the ball leaving the park, how fast he swung. The kids get stat sheets when they go to hockey camp. How fast was their puck speed? How fast did they skate? They got the little gun out like they're police officers waiting for you to pull you over. They have the radar gun. So there's a ton of stats. It's probably going to get worse. I'm sure there are probably sports dads out there, hockey dads out there who keep little spreadsheets of their kids' stats to throw in front of a coach's face to say, look, 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 my kid's a
There are
75.
definitely spreadsheets. There's also an app. I remember at one point we were on a team where one of the dads was in charge of keeping the stats for the team, and there was an app, and he was kind of tapping on the screen of what players are on the ice, what players are off the ice, what happens when. There's a lot out there if you really want to dive into it.
I don't.
But I know you don't, and I don't either, but I think it's important that new hockey parents know that these things exist, and if they start coming up, they're kind of got some awareness of it. But I don't want to miss out on talking about the goalie stats. So goalie stats are going to be wins, losses, and overtime losses. Also, save percentage is a big thing in hockey for goalies. Your save percentage says a lot about your goalie. So I don't want to leave that off the table. And that's another one of those things that some goalie parents are really interested in keeping those stats and maybe sitting in the stands keeping those stats for their own kid or for their kid's team.
And that's why, as you see, a lot of these tournaments, a lot of these games, they put that shot on goal up on the board there. And quick math will tell you shot on goal
Right.
versus how much they scored will give you a percentage, and that percentage is your goalie. Our goalie friend Chase pitched a shutout. He blocked 100% of the shots in the state finals last year.
Hey, just to throw that out there, that's another one of those stats. I think that's one that a lot of people follow. But let's move on to something a little bit more fun. What about hockey parent math?
Right? Are we there yet with this episode? Let's talk hockey parent math. Break out your calculators, folks. What do you got?
Yeah.
Well,
So I
first one is the biggest. Go.
right. So let's start with cost. We did an episode on some general hockey costs a few back. I think it was episode what was that 21 or so. We did an episode on league and team fees. That's your first math equation, hockey parents. You get that. How much is it going to cost for my kid to play on this team? You get minus any fundraising you do and other discounts divided by the number of payments you're allowed to do, plus any processing fees. And guess what? That's how much you're paying for your player to play hockey.
How much can I get for a kidney on the black market? How much can I donate in sperm and not hurt myself? That's all optional, and it could take down the percentage of money that you pay out of pocket for hockey. I did actually repost that episode. I don't remember the number, but hockey's going to cost what? Actually, Angela, that's one of our more popular episodes. People are dying to know how much hockey costs and how the hell are we going to pay for it. We do have a fundraiser episode in the hopper, not in the hopper. We need to record it, but we have been asked to do that, and we will do that. We haven't done a lot of fundraisers, I want to say, or maybe we do fundraisers, and I'm just like, F it, I'll write a check. I ain't selling that stupid little card that sells pizza 20% off. Just tell me what I owe for the a league.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different equations you can come up with there, depending on your personal situation. You mentioned selling a kidney, but a lot of parents have side hustles to help pay for their hockey fees, and I think we touched on that in that episode on league and team fees.
You're talking about the side hustles? There's a lot of side hustles out there, like working at major league games.
Yeah.
I moonlight at Thunder Down Under. I'm actually a
Oh,
stripper,
jeez.
buck nasty.
And how much do you make from that?
I mean, have you seen the kids' fees decrease yet?
No, I don't have any minuses in the fundraiser and other discounts. I don't have anything there. But one of the other things that we talked about in that episode, and you can do your own math on this, and every family is probably going to have their own equation, but travel costs. So your transportation plus food plus lodging plus extras equal your total travel cost for whether it's the weekend or the day, or maybe you want to do it for the full season.
Gas costs, the gas is 1 week it's 2 something, the next week it's almost $4. You don't know what it's gonna cost, and those beginning of the season league fees that they give you, that's a small tail of the tail because you don't know when you book where your kids are gonna wanna eat when you go up there, what additional costs. You know what? A tasty cold beer in the lobby of this hotel will be nice, $8 later. Oh, you're in Chicago? Gas really isn't cheap in those major cities. It's you're chasing a lot of cost. I don't eat it. I don't like fast food restaurants. I prefer to eat local. So local dive food is going to cost you probably more, but you pay for quality over quantity over quickness.
I think we touched on a lot of that in that episode that we did on fees, and everybody handles this differently. Like I said, every family is going to have a different equation, different way to handle the food situation. Maybe you're packing your food, you're not staying overnight, you're getting up extra early. There's a lot of ways to make that equation work for you and your family.
I'm
Um,
I'm doing points too. Point calculations. Let's see.
oh yeah.
This is not a state of play. Am I better off staying at the Hilton where I'll get X amount of points, or do I cash in Angela's Marriott points and stay at a nice Marriott? So you're doing that too. You're balancing the points.
Right, balancing how many points you have versus how many points you're gonna get, or, "Hey, I'm gonna use my" what's your app, your, Upside app?
Upside.
Is this restaurant gonna give me a discount if I use this app? All of those kinds of things. There's so many different calculations that come into, especially the travel stuff. One other
Stay tuned. We are going to do a travel hack episode where Michael tells you how to very cheaply travel for hockey. So Upside's one of my favorite hacks. But yes,
well, how to get cash back on all your travel, and not just on your credit card.
yep.
But one of the other things that we have to think about when we are traveling and when our kids are playing hockey is dividing your parent time between multiple kids, also known as the
Divide.
divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer. We're parents of 2 boys, and there's 2 of us. I guess if we had 3 kids, I'd have to have a second wife, a sister wife for Angela, so we can, take care of 3 hockey kids. You see parents, they have multiple kids. These we talked about this, the general manager, usually this is the, person who volunteers to do general manager because they can schedule the games all at the same time in the same city for all kids. Admit
Right.
them, but, yeah, splitting the time between your kids.
And balancing that equation and making sure it's not always the same parent or the same grandparent or whoever's taking the player to games, that you're balancing it out and spending time with all your kids, whether you have two, three, four, however many kids you have, making sure you're kind of getting some sort of balance on who's doing what
Yeah.
when it comes to doing the driving and the spending time on these weekend trips.
Yeah, don't leave the kid behind. You might have a kid who doesn't play, sports, and he gets left behind at home. He's eating peanut butter sandwiches every night or walking downtown to get a sandwich. Of course, I'm reliving my childhood because I had 2 sisters who played travel softball, and I found myself at home by myself a lot, just fending more for myself, which I guess bodes well in the future because I can take care of myself.
I was going to say Michael's sob story that he needs to talk to his therapist about, not talk about on the podcast.
Hey, listeners, listen, my childhood, it wasn't rough, but it wasn't the best in the world. I'm kidding, mom. Listening,
Yeah.
mom. I'm kidding. I had a wonderful childhood.
Like I said, you need to talk to the therapist, not the podcast.
I
But anyways, yeah, I mean that's something to consider if you've got one kid in hockey or multiple kids in hockey, and how you divide that parent time, the quality time, how you do it if you're a single parent with multiple kids, or if you've got some sort of a dual parenting situation, how are you going to manage that? I think that's one of those hockey math equations that you're going to have to figure out.
And you get into a routine and you figure it out pretty quick. Let's talk about time calculations. We do this all the time. I have to be in Detroit by 5 o'clock on a Friday. Can I go to work in the morning? What's traffic look like during the middle of the day?
Is it going to snow?
Is it going to snow? When I cross through major cities on the way, am I crossing through during rush hour? So this is where your apps come in handy. Your Wazes, they predict traffic for you. I use it a lot. You're also equating in stops for gas, stop for food, restroom breaks, weather, traffic, time. Oh, time zones. our ass has been burned on time zones because I can't figure out that when I cross into, like, I don't know, Tennessee, they're in Central Time Zone or Nashville, Tennessee, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely, I think you can come up with some massive word problems on this. I think it would make any, any math teacher, 6th grade math teacher just do a happy dance that you were coming up with some of these really complicated word problems. But yeah, it gets complicated. And sometimes if you're not good at math, you're not good at figuring out all this time stuff. Hopefully somebody on your team is, and they're posting on the team chat, hey, you need to leave by noon to get to the rink on time, kind of thing. And they're doing some of that calculation for you. Because it gets crazy, especially if you get into a situation where we are located. We're fairly close to that dividing line between the Eastern time zone and Central time zone. So there are times that we've got games on Central time, but we live on Eastern time. And you got to factor in, how long is it going to take to drive there? Oh, there's a time change. Does that go forward or backwards? What time am I going to get home? What time do I need to leave to get to the rink? It all gets pretty crazy.
When it comes to gas, it's a lot more reliable because most cars are equipped with, here's how many miles you have to an empty tank. Angela is a gambler. She likes playing gas roulette. If her gas gauge says you have 110 miles left of gas and the rink is 108 miles away, she's going to make it to that rink. I don't know how she does it. I don't know why she does it, but
That I cut it that close, but I will cut it a lot closer than you do.
Angela will get like 20 miles from the rink, and the gas gauge says, "Are you sure you don't want to pull over? There's a speedway right there." She's a gambler.
It starts dinging at me saying, and then it won't tell me how many miles I have left. It just goes blank and says gas
I give
needed
up.
or something. Yeah.
I've been
Well,
telling you the last 200
hang
miles I
on.
need gas. You're on your own.
Knock on wood, I have not run out of gas. So I've gambled well over the years. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. You got to take all that stuff into consideration. And we haven't even touched on the calculations of how much is that hockey stick going to cost me and some of those parent calculations.
Yeah, when it comes to that, I like to just cover my eyes and hand over the credit card. I see no evil, hear no evil. I know it'll end up on the credit card statement eventually, but yeah, it is painful.
Well, have you ever done the calculation? And I know you
No,
probably
I
have
want
for
to.
some things. The calculation of how many hours do I have to be at work to pay for X?
No,
No,
no.
none of that
Do that.
calculation.
I don't wanna do that because it will mentally park in my brain that I spent 2 days at work, grueling work, just to pay for a pair of skates.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I didn't. I figured that might throw your anxiety through the roof, but I didn't know if your OCD would make you calculate that.
Nope, not at all. Wouldn't do that. Nope, not at
Okay. Well, I'm sure there's some parents out there that would do that and would figure out, hey, that pair of skates cost me.
I'll offer a solution to easily do that. Just use ChatGPT. Just here, put your salary in, how much it costs, say how long will I have to work. Well, and then you could rub that in your kid's face.
Yeah.
I have to work 2 weeks to pay for this hockey trip to Detroit. 2 weeks, and here's my numbers to back it up.
Oh my God. Then, okay, so now our kids are going to have to go to therapy after they've seen that. Now, okay, here's the
Or
new
or,
calculation. How much is the weekly therapy bill for the family?
or they're going to present
Jeez.
math.
Right, exactly.
Mr. Mauser, your son is failing math. Why? He seems to be scared of it. I don't understand.
I don't understand why he's
Uh,
terrified of math.
all right, let's talk about practice time. And I have a problem with this, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this one is one that drives you crazy. But all of the teams that we have been associated with, they know practice time is at whatever time we are on the ice. So practice time is ice time. That's what's posted on the app most of the time. However, they usually give us some sort of instruction of we want the players there an hour before ice time so they can do their warm up, they can get ready in the locker room, all of those things. So that's another calculation of, hey, practice on the ice starts at 7, but we've got to be there at 6.
And
And
if you're in a metro area, yeah, like us, we're fighting rush hour traffic. We're not going to do it next season because our time got moved up or later in the evening. But yeah, you're doing that calculation to get there an hour ahead of time before it starts. Hockey,
right.
let's use 7 o'clock. All right, everybody, hockey practice starts at 7 o'clock. All right, we'll be there at 6:45. Oh no, you need to be there an hour before. Well, then hockey practice starts at 6, not 7. Let's be accurate. What time do I need to be here for hockey practice to start? That's what pisses me off. If time I need to be there, don't tell me what time practice quote unquote starts. You need to be there by this. Hockey practice
Well,
at 6. Not so.
I don't know what to tell you, but that's how it seems to work in the hockey world. I'm sorry that doesn't match with what you think it should be, but I don't think your method is going to be picked up anytime soon because we've been dealing with it for almost 13 years
Lie to me.
and it's not changed.
Lie to me. Tell me it starts at 6.
I'm not lying to you. You got to figure it out on your own. You're a big
Oh,
boy.
I'm telling the league to lie to me, and instead of telling me it starts at 7, just say, "Hey, it starts at 6." I'm like, "All right, I'll be there at 6 o'clock." And then I show up, they had the hour to kill before 7 o'clock. They're on the ice. Boom.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of time calculations I think are probably the hardest and the one that you have to do the most often.
The best is when you have a game and you're driving a long distance and you're tearing ass. Something happened. There's a wreck, snow, traffic, whatever, and you're late. And you get there, what happens? Hey, listen, they're like 2 games behind, so the game's not gonna start for like another 2.5 hours. Good information to know ahead of time. That's where the communication is key, and Michael should probably get on the team snap.
Exactly. You would know those things if you paid attention to the team app. So again, team app I think is a lot of times we had a parent a few years ago that was really good at doing all these time calculations and would put out on the app, "Hey, everybody should probably leave by such and such time to get to the game or whatever on time." So you might get lucky and have somebody do some of those calculations for you.
Was this parent a teacher?
No.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like, I remember the old math class, you had like, 2 trains leave. One train leaves San Francisco at 8 o'clock, and the other train leaves, Denver at 7. Where, and what time do they meet? So
Right. That's what I said. These kind of word problems would make any like 7th grade algebra teacher like giddy because
hopefully our listeners get it and not hit the unsubscribe button. I'm kidding.
but no, and you mentioned earlier AI and whatnot. Maybe that's a way. I'm not into that. That's not my thing, but maybe you start utilizing that to do some of these calculations instead of trying to do it in our head.
Yeah, you can plan out your entire hockey weekend just by putting it into ChatGPT. Another thing is with timing too, is the game itself. You're doing a calculate. I'd always do this. Let's say Henry has a game at 3 o'clock. All right. And we have dinner plans at 6:30. I'm in my head going, all right, let's see. The game is 15-minute periods. That's 45 minutes plus stoppages. I'm going to throw in another 15 minutes for that. Henry is pretty good about getting out of the locker room after the game. So tack on another 10 minutes. Drive time. Can I make a 6 o'clock reservation? You're doing that in your head mentally because you got to be somewhere later in the afternoon. Sam was horrible about this, our oldest, because when we used to drive him, because he would sit in the locker room after a game and hold court and
Marinate.
marinate in his funk, and to the point we were, like, texting him from the lobby going, "Hey, man, everybody's gone, and you're still sitting in the locker room. Please come out. We have to be somewhere later tonight."
Well, I think another area where these parent time calculations come in is you're at the tournament weekend and you have that 7 a.m. game. And okay, we're going to go play the 7 a.m. game. Should we eat lunch before or after the next game that's at 11 o'clock? Should we eat between games? Should we eat after games? Are they going to have enough time to eat something and have it settle enough that they're not going to get an upset stomach on the ice? That's another one of those things that we're constantly calculating.
You went down a different path than I thought you were gonna go. It's 7 o'clock AM, the game of the parent math. I was thinking, "How many beers can I drink the night before in the lobby of the hotel room before I feel like shit at 6:30 in the morning? I gotta get up for this game." That's where I went.
Okay, that's another parent equation.
I'm
We're
185
adding
pounds. I'm drinking Miller Lite, like,
which is like yeah, 3% alcohol at your body burns that at
8 ounces of
whatever rate.
hour on
Oh,
the hour.
jeez. See, look, we've come up with all sorts of math calculations for hockey.
Yeah, but that 5th beer in, you're like, "F it, F the math."
Yeah, because then suddenly your brain can't do math anymore.
That's true.
Oh man, lots of math in hockey. From the general stuff we talked about early on, the shapes on the rink and everything, and then all the parent calculations.
We even talked about the angles, the viewing angles of the rink. That's something. The viewing
Yeah.
How many times have you been at a rink sitting there, you thought the puck went in? You had to pass.
You can't see, or there's a post in the way. There's a
Yeah,
post holding up the ceiling. I can't see around it. I can't see the crease
yeah,
because the post is in the way.
or you're an asshole parent standing in front of me at a game, and I can't see around you because A, you're not transparent, physics, biology, and B, the angle of the puck, you're in the way. So,
Right.
laugh when you stand in front of me at a rink, and then I bring in English as I start to cuss you out.
Jeez. Anyway, you probably thought this that I was a little crazy when I suggested this as an topic, but I think we had a little fun with it. Maybe gave some tips along the way of the way to calculate, especially time, because I think that's a big one. But
Who
yeah, any
doesn't love to do math in the summertime? I mean, good times, good topic.
yeah,
But yeah, absolutely. In all seriousness, there's a ton of math out there. Your kids are in school. Use it to your advantage. Give them a little teaching lesson. If you homeschool your kids and they play hockey, use that. So there's a lot of potential there. And of course, technology's out there. There's a lot of technology. We could chat GBT. Angel's not a fan. I understand. Ways, traffic apps, calculators are on your phone. Use them all to your advantage. Excel sheets. Angela talked about apps that will keep your kids' stats. Just use technology to your advantage, but don't lose doing math in your head yourself, though.
for sure. And I think kind of my reflection on all of this is, yeah, we went through all of these different calculations and it may all sound crazy, but it gets easier the more you do it. It gets easier. You kind of stick with it. You've figured out, hey, I know my approximate drive time to such and such city.
Angela is alluding to what we in math world call trends. You know the trends of the traveling you have to do to Detroit. You know, you have experience, so you can do comparisons there. I went there
Yeah.
months ago. It was a 4.5 hour drive. It's probably going to be in a 10 or 15-minute window, same time drive time.
Right. And then you also get to know that, hey, I know that one exit that I can stop at. We can get gas, use the restroom, and get food all at once.
All right. I know we're in reflections, but I want to hit you with a couple things. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's talk probability.
Okay.
All right. What's the probability your kid scores a goal while you run to the restroom?
Oh, that probability is way high. I was gonna ask if I need to get my calculator out, but no, I
No, no,
don't need
no.
to get my calculator on this one.
This is just your guessing probability. So yeah,
Yeah.
the moment you get up, run to the
Yeah.
gotta pee. I had 3 beers in the old rink lobby bar.
Yeah.
Sam's not on the ice right now. I'll be fine. I'll run over there, come back. There's a score on the who scored? Your kid just scored. It was a
Yeah.
sick goal. The sickest goal ever. All right. What's the probability you or your kid forget something at the rink or at home for a game?
Depends on which kid I have with me.
Okay, so
If it's the oldest, the probability is significantly higher. If it's the younger one, the probability is a little lower.
so the equation is contingent on which child it is.
Correct.
All right, low odds of this, odds of a stick breaking in a game.
Pretty low. We haven't had too again, knock on wood, we've not had too many sticks break during a game.
I'm gonna say those odds are higher if the stick you just got is it's a brand new stick. So when you get that brand new stick, just like when you buy a new car.
No, the odds are higher when you hit 31 days after you buy the stick because
Oh
you only
yes.
get a 30-day warranty on it.
Oh yes. Very good point. Excellent point, Angela. The day after the warranty, those 10 days
Yes.
of the warranty. All right. So those are my probability questions to Angela. Let's get to tip of the week. Angela, what's your tip of the week?
We've mentioned this a couple of times in the episode, but I think if you notice that your player's struggling with math in school, use this opportunity and see if you can relate it to hockey. If your kid loves hockey, have them show them that they are using math in hockey. The concepts are there, and maybe that it may spark an interest that allows them to connect some of those math concepts with the game that they love to play.
And technology is your friend. Use it to your advantage, but don't overuse it. Don't be the guy throwing an Excel spreadsheet in front of the coach complaining about your kid's playing time because you tracked it and you have a little spreadsheet and a bar graph showing that your kid played less than Johnny's kid, even though your kid had a higher plus minus percentage. Let's not be the douchey sports dad, tech guy, math wizard shoving that in your volunteer coach's face.
Yeah, I think keeping statistics is fine, but keep statistics for the whole team. Look at it from a wider view than just your own player. Look at it from a more holistic perspective of the whole team.
All right, Angela, let's get to our outro. I got a Cincinnati Reds game to head to. We're going to do a little Skyline Chili. Look it up if you don't know what it is. So, dinner before, and you can tell by Angela.
You love it or hate it. That's all I can say.
The probability Angela eating Skyline Chili is 0.
Correct.
I want to do a small business shout out. This one kind of hit close to home for us. The Kettering Ice Arena in Ohio. It's out of Dayton, Ohio.
Suburb of Dayton.
Yeah, in danger of closing down. The city of Kettering has announced that the 2026-2027 season will be the last season. They said it's an aging rink. There's multiple things that need to be done with it. It looks like it's a political fight with the city versus the people who actually use it. I'm not gonna get into that, but we support rinks. We support all rinks, independently owned rinks, city-owned rinks, and Kettering, we've been there many times as parents. Angela, I know our kids have played there multiple times. It's a gorgeous rink. I love
It's a cool rink.
the ceiling, the dome. It's got
The, like, wooden kind of arched ceiling or whatever, yeah.
yeah, so we love Kettering Ice Rink. So if you want to help support them, go to Facebook, look up Support Kettering Ice Arena's Future. Join them. I'm sure they're probably going to put a petition out. They're talking to the city of Dayton. Good arguments can be made to keep it. I'm sure there are arguments made to get rid of it, but we can't lose ice rinks in this country based on the growth of this sport. I know ice rinks are hard to run, they're expensive to run, but the sport's growing. It's growing
And
fast.
especially in this area where there aren't many rinks to begin with, it's really tough when a rink goes away.
I know, and this rink is nearly. Would you say it's an hour from us right now?
It's a little over an hour from us, but I mean, it's
No,
well within the easy to get to for a game in a day.
right, and that's my point. It's an hour away, but we call it a local rink. If you're in Buffalo,
Right.
New York, or you're in Detroit, you may laugh at that, but that's what we have down here. We don't have many rinks, and to keep this sport alive, we need rinks to stay open, and this is no exception. I think Dayton's already losing another rink that's 45 minutes from us, so we would be down 2 rinks. So anyway, support the Kettering Ice Arena. Please look them up, show them support. We're all one big hockey family. Angela, get us to our outro.
So, thank you everyone for listening. Please follow, subscribe, and share with any of your hockey family. We really appreciate all of the comments and feedback that we get from you on whatever platform you're listening on, and or Facebook or Instagram. If you're listening on one of those apps for podcasts, give us a rating. It helps other people, other hockey families find us.
We just hit 10,000 downloads, so we are well beyond 10,000. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing the word of our little podcast. We hope to grow bigger as the next season kicks in. We do have exciting news. We have an interview on our next episode. I'm excited about this one, Angela. I know you're excited. I don't know where we're going to go with this one because there's so many topics we can pull out of this interview. It's USA women's national sled hockey player Rachel Steffen. So, what route do we go down? USA hockey? Do we go down the women's hockey? Do we go down the sled hockey? Maybe we do all three. I don't know, but I'm excited to put together an agenda for this one to see what we can get out of her brain because all of that is awesome, and I look
Yeah,
forward to that one.
fantastic. I can't wait to talk to her. Whichever direction we go, I'm sure she's going to provide us with some fabulous insight on any of those topics. So excited for that. Hope everybody comes back for our next episode and hears from her.
And give our past episodes a listen. Episode 1, a little rough. We were kind of rough, but we're getting better as we go along. And always, we're here for you. Keep your stick on the ice. We're all in this together. Thank you.
Up before dawn, can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend in some hockey town. With a hot tub parents, frozen toes.